Good morning, Geekdom community and people all over the world listening in to the Geekdom Underground podcast. We're super stoked to be having another episode with some amazing folks. But real quick, before we jump into that, it's your boy JRG hanging out with...
Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Philip Hernandez. I'm COO here at Geekdom. Super pumped about this morning's episode of Geekdom Underground. Today, we have two fine members, Mariano Garcia and Antonio Herrera, the co-founders of ADUs Built for You.
Let's give it up. Let's show some love in the chat.
That's right. You can find them on the floors of Geekdom, but then also they are participants in our incubator program.
Yes, sir.
So y'all been around for a little bit. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you. Yeah,
Thank
we're
you.
excited to be
for
here.
the invitation.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so since we have two guests today, I'm going to start on the right side of the table. So,
right.
Mariano, if you would, and you know, like we always do on all of our Geekdom Underground podcast episodes, we keep it real conversational, real chill. So if you would, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how'd you get here?
Yeah, so I'm from San Antonio. I've been born and raised here my whole life. So,
Hey, all right.
yeah, I haven't really traveled a lot, so I'd say I'm true. Like, just always been here in San Antonio. So
What side of San Antonio?
I've always been on the south side and like really south side, like on the outskirts, and then now I'm living on the east side.
Oh, right
So
on.
yeah, but yeah, I'm born and raised here. Our family's all here, and we went to school here. Went to University of Texas, San Antonio. Went there for my architecture degree.
Nice.
So that's where
Fun.
me and Antonio met. We were both in architecture school, and yeah, man, it's been a good experience here. I have my family, I have my wife and my 3 girls. So we're loving it. Everybody at San Antonio, and so yeah, actually, I became a Geekdom member. Literally the month that I signed up to be a member, that month is when like kind of COVID hit, and then y'all shut down everything here. And I was like, oh man. So
I remember.
yeah.
I remember we met you early on.
Yeah. And so yeah, because I think I forgot who I messaged, but yeah. And so then I was like, oh, I was kind of bummed because I wanted to come to the space and stuff, but then y'all started doing a lot of like live stuff or like doing stuff online. And so I was trying to get involved in there, and then and then I saw the opportunity for the incubator program, and kind of read up on it, saw what it was about, and I was like, okay, this is cool. Like, and it was trying to solve civic issues, and so in school studying architecture with Antonio, like we studied a lot about like urban planning and design and all that stuff, like how architecture affects the city and the communities, and so. I reached out to him and we were like, hey, let's do this and let's try to solve an issue. So that's how we kind of found out about the incubator program and both applied to it. And obviously the ideas kind of pivoted a lot since then, like what we originally tried to come in with. But yeah, that's kind of how we got in here. So
Right on.
yeah.
Awesome. So UTSA. Go
yeah.
Roadrunners.
Is
That's
it?
right.
Yeah. You a Roadrunner, dude?
I'm an alumni as well.
Are you?
Yeah,
Nice.
absolutely. Yeah.
Where'd you go to school? What did you graduate with?
I graduated with a communications major
okay, nice.
back in 2011.
Oh,
Dude, that's why you're so good at this. You take
Yeah,
podcasting classes.
natural. Super natural.
Nah, dude, this guy. Well, awesome. Well, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Antonio, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
Yes. So originally, I was born in Hidalgo, Texas. but
Okay.
I grew up in Reynosa, Tamaulipas. It's a small town across the border from Hidalgo.
Okay.
So I grew up over there, went to high school, and then when I graduated high school, I went to Monterrey, to Universidad Autónoma de Nuevo León. I studied architecture there for 2 years, and then moved to Mission, Texas, and then from there I applied to Austin.
Wow.
Yes, I went to Austin Community College. I did all my basics there because it was the first time that I was taking classes in the U.S. So I started from ESL, English for non English speakers.
Yeah.
Right. So I graduated from there. I applied to UTSA, and I got accepted into the architecture program. When I got to third semester because I study in Monterrey architecture.
Yeah.
So I finished my bachelor's there, and then I entered to the master's program, and I finished the master's over there. And right now I am a PhD student in the College of Architecture.
Right on.
That's
Yes,
awesome.
sir. And,
So you've been a student for a while.
yes,
Right.
I've been studying architecture like about 10 years.
Wow.
And right now allowed me to teach. So I'm a professor at the University of Texas San Antonio College of Architecture.
Hey.
Now it's a School of Architecture and Planning. So
That's awesome.
I'm a professor there, and I've been here in San Antonio for 6 years, more or less.
Yeah.
Dang, I wonder if do you know Rene Balderas? Maybe not.
No, I don't
He's a
think so.
member. He's a professor, an architecture professor.
And he's a member here.
Yeah.
I heard.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he teaches from, he presents from one of our dedicated desks. But
Yeah.
when he started though, it was like there wasn't anybody here. But but yeah, he's an awesome member. So you went from Hidalgo, Texas, down across the border,
Sir.
and then Monterrey, and then Mission. What was all the moves? Just all over the place.
Yeah, so it's just like it was. Have never take classes in English,
Yeah.
so it was an opportunity for me, right? Like I'm a U.S. citizen, so it was my first time. So I was like, why not?
Yeah.
So we came to the U.S., right, and applied to Austin. Right now I'm doing my PhD.
Yeah. How was the transition from schooling in Mexico versus schooling here?
Yes, that was tough.
Is it different?
It was very tough, yes, because when I graduated from over there, I mean, I didn't graduate from architecture, right? When I came here, I had to bring my transcripts and then translate it into English and then talk to, the chair of the department
Wow.
and review, like went through all that process,
Yeah.
right? So I've never had classes in English in architecture. Right, so all that, it was like the scalings, the measurement, the measuring system is different.
Wow.
So getting used to all that, it was tough.
You had to relearn everything that
yeah.
everybody had already been building a foundation on.
Exactly. So when
Wow.
they talk about scales, I was lost.
Yeah.
I didn't know what they're talking about. So I had all the time. Need to have my resources in my phone to
For sure.
To double check
Yeah.
the things that I was doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was difficult.
Yeah. When you were in Mexico and schooling over there, were you like at the top of the class, middle of the pack, or was school a struggle?
It was a struggle.
It was a struggle over there.
Yes.
And then bringing it over here, it had
Yes.
to be double.
Exactly, because over there, I mean, at that time, to be honest, I wasn't like a super into school,
Yeah.
right? It was until I was in Austin when I started seeing that change in culture, right? A lot of people were like more scholars, more academic, but they were like know about a lot of topics. So when I used to go to parties with my friends, right, they would talk about, economics, politics, and all those stuff that I wasn't like involved, right? So my mentality started changing there.
Yeah.
So I started getting more involved into the U.S. system and to a more like a global view towards like what happens in Mexico, what happens in the U.S. that affects in Mexico, what happens in Mexico that affects the U.S. So that's how I start like getting involved a little more into all the academic part of the U.S. education system.
Yeah. So being a PhD student now and being on the other side of the podium and now teaching some classes, when you were a student in Mexico, was that something that you aspired to do or to be, or is that just where the journey took you?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. No, over there, we used to have this mentality of, when you graduate from there as an architect, like for example, my brother, he just graduated from architecture school in Guadalajara.
Uh-huh.
He's an architect already, right? We graduate from the bachelor's and we graduate from the master's, and we're not architects yet.
In
the U.S. Yes.
Oh, wow.
So we have to go through a long process of
really.
Yeah, it's a long
accreditations.
process. There's always been like a movement from the like AIA, the organizations that represent architects and students, to like try to streamline that process, because you get your bachelor's, it doesn't mean much. You have to get your master's from an accredited place, and then you have to get a lot of hours to earn towards your getting your license, and then you have to take some tests. But the amount of years that takes after you graduate from your master's, I don't know, like 4 to 6 years.
So
I
like,
mean, depending on how fast you're trying to get done.
So like an apprenticeship, almost.
Kind of for 2 years.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So after that, you have to take like what is like 5-6 tests, like state tests to be licensed architect.
And then if you're like the example you gave, your brother in Guadalajara, he's a licensed architect in Mexico.
Yes.
Can he practice over here as well?
No.
No. What about vice versa? Can you, with a licensed architect in the U.S., can you practice in Mexico?
They can.
They can?
Yes.
Wow.
That's the big difference.
Man, that's
why you have a lot of people coming to UTSA to study, here.
Oh,
they come from
architecture.
Monterrey. There's a lot of people from Monterrey and UTSA
Really?
that they study here, and then they go back.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I was when we were in architecture school, a large percentage of the people were from Mexico.
Really?
In architecture school.
Wow.
was
Yeah,
interesting,
that is interesting. Are there other programs like UTSA between here and Mexico, or is UTSA like the premier that people go to?
Yes, there's another one I think in Brownsville.
Oh, gotcha.
But it's not an undergraduate program for architecture. It's more like a technical kind of degree.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah,
So,
so-
you would have to probably continue education in UTSA or somewhere like that
Exactly.
after doing
so
that.
most of the people like that are in the border of Tamaulipas,
Mhm.
Reynosa, Matamoros, which is McAllen and Brownsville, right? They cross the border, they study that technical career,
Yeah.
right? And then they come to UTSA
Mm.
to start the bachelor's in architecture.
Man, that's awesome. So help me understand where y'all are at in your journey. You've both graduated, you've gotten your degrees, you've gotten your masters. So where y'all at in the journey now?
Well, for me, I didn't get my master's. I just got my bachelor's. Then obviously our school is very good at like trying to promote students to continue their education and get their master's and PhD and stuff. But I kind of stepped away from that because I was also at the same time really involved in the construction industry. So I was kind of doing. It was a benefit for me to learn architecture and construction.
Yeah.
But just the opportunities in the construction industry kind of were pulling me after my bachelor's degree. So I just went that route right into construction after after I got my bachelor's. So I never continued because I was kind of weighing the pros and cons of going back, and I kind of had already started my family, and I was like, man, so just trying to work, and so I never ended up going back. But I was trying to forecast what my future was going to be, and I didn't really see myself working in a traditional architecture firm that would require me or go a route that would require me to have my actual license. Because there's a lot of avenues you can work in the architecture and construction industry where you don't actually need your license. And so that's why I didn't continue it. I still think about it, think about going back, but I probably won't.
It serves the school you did serves you the way that
definitely.
you
I got a
needed
great
to.
foundation and got a lot of great mentorship from a lot of the professors at UTSA.
Yeah. What is it? And this question is for either one of you, but what does it mean to be an architect? Like, what is that when you say I'm a licensed architect? That means I can do.
Yeah. Well, so I don't know how it is in Mexico, but in the United States, if you break it up into the residential industry and commercial industry, let's just say, the residential industry, you technically don't need your license to design homes and stuff, right? You still got to get an engineer involved in the design of the home because they're going to make the foundation. They're going to do some structural stuff with the design of the home. But technically, a lot of homes can be designed without your license. So really what your license is for is doing anything like commercial or above. So,
Gotcha.
If you wanted an office building or anything that's zoned or coded as a commercial building, you'll need your license. And really the cities, their codes and regulations dictate what you need, if you need to have your license and stuff. So, but most firms, they as you work your way up in the firms, they want people to have a license, it's kind of like that just to show that you have that accreditation, right? Not just the stamp, but because that's what it means when you say your license. What it means is you literally have a little stamp that you stamp on drawings that with your name, and that you're so but it's also just a sign of you're kind of you're educated and you have that experience and you understand everything. So but there's also people that learn that same stuff without it, so but
it adds validity.
It adds validity.
In Mexico, it's kind of the same, but it's not as hard to get the accreditations.
Yeah.
So over there, for example, we have a construction company. right? I don't have a proper license in Mexico, but my brother does because he graduated from architecture school.
Okay.
Right? So we're building with his
Gotcha.
with his license.
You
in
can
theory.
operate under his license.
Correct.
And gotcha.
Correct. And you
That
can
makes
do
sense.
almost anything from
Oh,
residential,
okay.
commercial. Here, commercial is a little difficult because you have to have different accreditations, right?
Yeah, there's
like
a lot
different
more
requirements.
things. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's more because more people are gonna use that space,
Yeah.
so it's more dangerous, right?
I got you.
You really need to know what you're doing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, there's a
So-
lot of safety involved, and
Yeah.
Mhm.
For me, it was a little different because my education in Mexico was towards construction in the architecture school. Right. When I came to the U.S., I was thinking primarily in foundation, structure, and all that. And here we get educated a little more, like in the designer kind
the
of
theory.
Okay.
Theory.
theory.
Yeah, I was
exactly.
gonna ask that like what's the focus on with an architect? Is that like the structural integrity, the design, the flow, all of the above? Hey, or how is that?
I mean, I would say it's primarily like the envelope of the building, right? How the building is put together, because you still need structural designers and engineers to put together a building, right?
Yeah.
But as an architect, you should know how an envelope it's put together.
Yeah,
Right.
I would say like it's kind of, I guess, the mindset of the architecture firm, because like I guess like if you broke it into parts, like the engineers will handle like the structure and like making sure it doesn't collapse or that kind of safety stuff, and then like interior designers, they'll manage like the interior design and all that, and then but a lot of architects pride themselves on like the theory of like trying to design the space and the feeling and like the environment and like walking through the building and like the interaction between public spaces, private, like inside, outside. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like that theory. But
and
then
there's a lot of like a philosophical theory as well
Yeah.
into architecture here in the U.S.
Yeah.
more than in Mexico. In Mexico, they kind of starting that movement,
Yeah.
but here's more. We saw it in some of the studios that we got together in UTSA. It was primarily in theory, philosophical theory.
Really?
Yeah,
So real
that was very-
creative, real artistic.
Exactly.
and-
That was very exciting. And also, our time in school, it was super good because it was the beginning of, using robots. In
Oh, wow.
Yes, in architecture, right?
That's
So,
cool.
we already have 3D printing and all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we were studying, it was, I think they just bought a couple of 3D printers. And for us, it was like, wow.
Yeah.
We are like super advanced,
Yeah.
right? So we learn how to use the CNC machine.
Yeah.
We learn how to use 3D printing,
laser cutter. Yeah.
so put together our models, right?
Oh,
So it
wow.
was very, very interesting for us when we were students in
Yeah.
bachelor's program.
What was before? Because right now what I'm picturing is that like you use the 3D printer and those CNC things to make like a little building
Yes,
of what it is that you're going to do. How would they do that before?
by hand.
Yeah, just like cut
like,
up blocks and
paper
yeah.
yeah.
like
Foam
all that.
or something?
Yes.
I mean, they
Dang.
still do that a lot.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think when we were in school, there was kind of like this. I wouldn't say a battle, but it was like this kind of like old school versus new school.
Yeah.
You
There's
know,
like purists, like,
Yeah.
oh, no, this is the way you gotta
Yeah.
do it,
like we had some professors that were really like we wanted to do hand draw everything, hand sketches,
Mhm.
stick to the roots of like how architects used to do it, and like
Mhm.
the I guess like the connecting with the past of like drawing. But then we also had another set that were trying to push us on like the new advancements of technology, like drawing everything and the computers and like 3D
Parametric design.
parametric design.
AutoCAD and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but same thing with the modeling. Like, you could build all these models by hand and cut stuff up, or you could like use the machines to make them, which is
Yeah.
pretty
So
cool.
I got used to use the laser cutter to do models, right? And when I went to study abroad in Rome, they didn't have laser cutters over there,
Oh.
and I had to do a model, and I was like, hell no,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do it by hand. So I looked for a place that had a CNC machine. I just
Really?
went, cut my stuff and then just do it, right? It's not that we don't know how to do it, right? But you're gonna do a model without a laser cutter, maybe 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
Right. And with the laser cutter, everything cut, you can take like anything from 1 to 2 hours.
Yeah, it's not that you don't know how to do it. You just know your potential of having these other tools and using technology.
Exactly.
Yeah. Man,
and
that's
speaking
awesome.
to that, like it brings up, I don't know how like schooling for you was when you, or any of y'all when y'all were at school.
Yeah.
Like it for us, the what is it like the I don't know if it's the culture or like, but it was very unhealthy. Like we worked so many hours.
Really?
Like, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
you know, we would like all nighters was like very common, like every day. Like,
wow.
yeah. And like, and it was, I know like from an industry standpoint, like it's acknowledged, right? And they're trying to make it a healthier environment. But, and I think it was just because we're young and like, we don't really know how to time manage ourselves. And so we would slack off during the day and then work at night. And so it was very much on ourselves, but like, it was kind of like where the culture was like, we're just not that healthy. We're just always working all nighters and just exhausted. And yeah.
And I can see it. I can see it with my students today.
Really?
Yeah. It's not that they don't know how to do it. It's time management, like Mariano is saying.
Yeah.
Right. If you master that from the very beginning, you're in your bachelor's degree, right? You should be great.
You're just golden.
Yes.
Yeah. It sounds like that's like an acceptable culture. Like that's just that's something that you accept as kind of part of it.
Yeah.
And you know, you kind of build your
because it was kind of I was like, I remember like it's kind of sometimes it was like kind of cool just to be like, I was pulling all nighter.
Yeah.
And like,
yeah.
But then you get tired of it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool a couple times.
Yeah. But man.
Yeah, when it becomes the norm,
Yeah.
it can hurt a little bit. Well, that's awesome. Thank you both for sharing a little bit about your background. I want to talk about ADUs built for you. So I kind of mentioned it in the beginning that y'all are participants in the incubator, but if you could, why don't you tell everybody what is ADUs built for you? Either one of you can speak on that.
So ADUs built for you, it's an online platform that we're developing, and we start thinking about this to maybe save time and cut cost, right? Who doesn't want that?
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to cut costs and save time, right? So here in the U.S., there's a big trend for ADUs. Not so much here in San Antonio.
Yeah.
So we know that trend is coming to Texas. We saw it already in Austin, Houston, right?
Yeah.
And San Antonio, it's picking up, right?
Yeah.
So we saw an opportunity to help our community, right? To bring that density, because we know the city's population is going to grow in the coming years.
Yeah.
Right? At the beginning, we started the project, like Mariano was saying, we talked about this project when we were in our bachelor school back in UTSA, right? It was about affordable housing.
Yeah.
At the beginning, we would try to solve affordable housing, right?
Yeah.
We thought we had the recipe to do it, right? So,
This is it. After this all-nighter,
yes.
we're going to solve this crisis.
We're very naive.
After a bunch of coffee.
Yeah. Well, but also before you continue, for clarity, I'm familiar because I've been working with y'all. But for everybody else, what is an ADU?
Okay, an ADU is a secondary structure in your lot. Okay, you have your primary dwelling unit.
Yep.
And then you have your lot, and if you have some space on the back, you can put a secondary dwelling unit over there, right?
So like
that
an
would
apartment,
exactly.
a shack,
It's
art studio.
Yes, exactly.
Do you represent? I'm an ADU man.
Dude, that's it, dude. I know.
I have some questions for that.
Yeah. Okay, so ADUs is something that it's an industry term.
Yes, correct.
Accessory dwelling unit.
Accessory dwelling
Dwelling unit. And so both of you identified that there's an opportunity to make that process easier, to put an ADU on your property. Like for somebody like me,
correct,
who doesn't have a background in construction or architecture.
Correct.
Yeah, like if I look at putting an ADU in my backyard, to me that seems like a mountain. But for y'all, the process is easier.
Exactly.
But
yes. So the process right now, you would have to hire an architect, right? Spend a lot of money because it's expensive, right? Hiring a professional. and then spend a bunch of hours sitting in meetings to custom design your unit, right? So what we are doing with our platform is that we're streamlining that process. Okay, so we're giving people only a super easy 3 steps, right, to be able to own an ADU here in San Antonio, because we know there's a trend coming, right? And right now it's not that there's not resources to know about ADUs. It's just like it's not as friendly as it should be.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So we saw other states that they have people that are doing this, pushing this movement right in their cities. So we want to be the ones here in San Antonio pushing that movement, right? So we can bring more density to our communities and maybe fulfill somehow that dream of us of affordable housing, right? This type of units can serve, like you're saying, right? If you want to rent out that unit at an affordable price, you can do that and help your community, help somebody that it's in need for a house.
Yeah.
Right? So, real estate and development is going to increase in price, right? So this might be a solution for people to rent these units at an affordable price.
Nice.
Yeah. The funny thing is, like, it's a very valid solution for affordable housing, but the units themselves are not affordable. So like there's kind of like this thing, and so but we're noticing like in the other cities that we're researching that it's becoming very mainstream there, is that every city, the biggest challenge they fight is codes and regulations. That where you can build one, how you build it, what it looks like, and the process. And so every city look at that, the people who are promoting that or advocating for ADUs in each city, they're all on the same page that like city regulations is what's the challenge, right? And for good measure, like the city just wants to make sure that you're not building things and like ruining the feel of the community and stuff, right? So
for sure.
But because it's a new, they've been around for a long time, but because it's a newer thing that's picking up speed, the cities are doing a good job at like trying to understand the needs and change the regulations to like try to facilitate the growth in that. And so that's where we're coming in, is like we're trying to help that administrative process of like you want the ADU, like all of the design work and the permitting work and codes and regulations, all of that pain points you have to go through. We're trying to facilitate and streamline that process, before you even get to be able to build it. Because that's kind of the headache part, which most people don't even know until you're going through the process, right?
You don't know
this
what
is
you
a
don't
headache.
know.
Yeah.
Well, and that's another thing too. Like when I think about building a structure, you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't even begin to tackle that project because I feel like I can't navigate those waters. But I feel like that's what y'all are here for.
Exactly.
And so if if I were a customer and if I were to go to y'all and do this, how do you already have that stuff figured out? Is there like a menu of plans that I choose from, or do you help me develop those plans?
So that's part of the 3 steps that we have.
Gotcha.
Right? The easy 3 steps. The number 1 will be you go into our website and plug in your address there, right? We're gonna tell you if your lot is eligible to build an ADU, right?
Oh, gotcha.
And then the step number 2 would be you choosing a pre-design that we already have in our website, right? Purchase that plan. It's not just a floor plan; it's the complete set of construction documents that you need to give a general contractor to build the unit. Okay,
that's what you would have hired the architect to do.
Exactly.
Right? Gotcha.
Exactly. So cutting time and cutting costs.
Yeah.
Right. So what we do is that we make these plans available for San Antonio homeowners instantly, right? So you paid for that plan, those construction documents, right? And we guarantee you that they meet San Antonio ADU's codes and regulations. So that's a plus, right?
Yeah.
Because you have a bunch of websites that they sell plans or they sell you construction documents. They're not specific to San Antonio, right? They don't meet codes and requirements. So our website would guarantee you that the plans that you're buying, they're code compliant.
That's
Right.
awesome. Yeah.
The third step will be us connecting you with our Vito general contractor, right? It's a general contractor that works with us that we know that they have the experience building ADUs,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we're gonna contact you with them, and they're the ones that are gonna be building your unit.
Right
Okay.
on.
You can use our general contractor, or you can use yours.
Yeah.
However you feel comfortable, right? But we are offering you these options because we know that this general contractor has experience building these ADUs. That will be the third and final step if you decide to go with ADUs built for you.
Yeah. So that's a very deliberate process. You take a lot of like the guesswork out of it.
Yeah, because I could imagine people are like, man, I want to have something on my lot. Or like, I just bought this house and I'd love to have a studio back there. And then there's all these extra steps. So that like it could like turn someone off. Like, actually, I don't want to do that. I didn't know there's all these codes or how to do this. It's like, oh, cool. It's all kind of done for me through.
Yeah, we want to definitely try to promote it and show the potential to everyone, you know, and but like like what Antonio's saying is that the part that we're doing is because in every city, especially in San Antonio, the codes are very specific, right? Like you can't build, like there's a certain square footage that you can build only, like a range or a percentage. So like you can't even just build any size you want. So it's already restricted on that. And then you have restrictions on like it can only be a 1-bedroom, you know, and the windows have to be the same proportions as the primary house, or the roof slope has to match the primary house. And there was some restrictions on the materiality, but then we found out that they can't enforce that anymore. But essentially the look and the shape and the design of an ADU is very limited. So what we're doing is we're basically pre-designing them, and giving options, right? Because if you think like if we said we're gonna pre-design a home that's ready to build, most people are like, well, I have a lot of input. Like I want to choose the layout and this and that, and there's you really have there's no limits. You can do all kinds of shapes and sizes of homes. But with ADU, since they're restricted to like very unique set of requirements, that gives us an opportunity. Well, we'll just pre-design them to meet those requirements, and it'll meet them, and you choose from the options. And you know, once it's being built, obviously you can work with your contractor to choose like colors and finishes, but the shapes and sizes can't really change that much. So it actually works out to our benefit to pre-design them, and they're ready to go. So you know, you have the construction document set that you give to the city to permit, and it just streamlines that process and makes it a lot easier. So.
Yes, and actually, to add to that, we guarantee, right, that they meet the codes and requirements. But right now, we're also working with the city of San Antonio to make a collaboration with them, with the development department, to have the plans pre-approved.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So we're talking to them. How can we do this? Because as Mariano's saying, right, we have to be in constant communication if we want to push this movement, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's companies like us, nonprofits, and obviously our local government, right? We are in constant communication with them. So to find a solution, how can we do this to make it easy for San Antonio homeowners to build these units, right? So if they are pre-approved by the city of San Antonio and we guarantee that they meet the codes and regulation, it's going to be super fast for any homeowner here in San Antonio to build an ADU.
Yeah. And on that note, I just want to give a shout out to the incubator program because, man, Leslie and everyone's been such a good help connecting us with mentors and people in the city. And so like that really helped us facilitate our relationship with the city, like the Department of San Antonio or Development Services.
Right
so
on.
we've met with them and told them about our idea, and they're really eager and willing to help us, you know, facilitate us and through that process and see how that we can make that process. And they gave us contacts with people in the community, like he said, nonprofits that were pushing for ADUs in San Antonio, but then COVID hit and kind of slowed down. But they're excited to hear us that we're trying to push that movement back up again. Yeah. And so they're great, like opportunity to work with them. And I think that's a big thing is our relationship with them. Like the city knows that, hey, there's a company out there that's advocating for these, and we're gonna be able to provide the city valuable input, and then they're gonna be able to work with us and and hopefully make changes, to help the process. So
that's awesome. Yeah, shout out
Shout
Incubator.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Leslie's killing it. Thank you. But well, that's awesome. So let's go back a little bit, because, and I want to hear from both of you. Mariano, I'll start with you. What led to your decision? You kind of talked about it a little bit, but your decision to go into architecture school. You had like a construction background. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I grew up like families usually like their fathers or grandfathers are in the industry, and it's kind of just passed down. Like that's how mine was. Like my grandfather was in the construction industry. Then my father opened his construction company and did like commercial and government work. And so from an early age, I was just right in the construction industry, just involved in it. So, my dad, obviously like just even at a young age out there, but technically when I was technically go to work, like I was out there, and he had me just, as a laborer, just pushing brooms, cleaning up, called it a gopher, like just go getting stuff for everyone. And, so then, but then, people started realizing that I had potential, and my father saw it. And like, what made him great, like I kind of had it in me, and I started being able to like really understand the construction industry and the management part. And so I started, and it was a challenge right at first, because, you work for your father in a company, and like, and you start earning the right to manage big jobs. And then people are like, you have other, cause we were in the construction, like you have general contractors are the ones who manage the whole project. And then you have subcontractors. They're like the trades that do all the things. So I was always in the general contracting industry, like where we were the management. So my father would give me opportunities, to be in the management roles. And it was hard in the beginning because I'm a young guy and I'm trying to be the boss. And like, then you have all these guys that have been doing it their whole lives, and they're who's this young guy telling us what to do? And like, but the great thing was I quickly earned their respect, like they realized, oh, okay, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's not just, the son of the owner or whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, I just started working, and doing that, and so I started getting into more responsibilities and bigger projects, and then interacting more with the architects on the projects. And that's when I got exposed to the architecture side. And I got to meet a lot of great architects and a lot of bad architects. And it kind of like motivated me. It's like, man, there's some great architects doing great things that like I know I could do that too. And then you meet some bad architects who are like, how are these guys doing this work? And so like that's kind of what inspired me then to go to architecture school. And I was like, okay, now I have the foundation of construction. I'm gonna go to architecture. It's that other part of the field. And that transition for me was really easy, and it was great because I had that knowledge of how to like actually put things together. So when I was in school, I was able to show a little bit more competency, like, because I knew how stuff to get together. Because, sometimes you'd see a project and, somebody would draw a wall that's 2 inches thick, but like, it was like, that's not really how a wall's constructed, like, so it's like, I got to know like the details of like how to put things together. And cool. That's kind of what led me to architecture, is because I really had that, I was kind of always artistic or like design when I was younger. And so I was like, architecture just seemed like the right way to like kind of apply that design mentality in the construction industry. So yeah, that's kind of how it went.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. You kind of had an edge above everybody else because of your experience.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because I went to school. I didn't go to school right after high school. I was like 26. I'm 32 now, but I went back to school when I was like 24 to get my architecture degree. So like, so I did it backwards a little bit. Like I went into the field and got some experience, and then went to school. And so it kind of gave me an advantage in school, to like have that, be able to apply that.
Yeah, and it kind of sounds like you never really had like a starting point. You just always were.
Yeah, exactly.
in
Yeah.
construction, like,
Yeah.
because of your father and then your grandfather, and
Yeah.
that's awesome.
And I
Yeah.
thought about, the construction industry it's awesome. There's a lot of opportunities there too. So, but yeah, it was kind of throughout all those years it was just kind of self discovery of like which side I want to be on,
Yeah.
architecture or construction. And so, but there's industries where it's both. There's called design build. So you design and build. So I worked a lot of years at a company where we did design build work for the government. So like on all the military bases, the government, like whether it's the Air Force, Navy, Army, they would hire contractors to say, hey, we want this building or this road or something, some kind of infrastructure in the government bases. And you would bid on the project, and it was your responsibility to design it and build it. So I got some great experience there working with the government. It was pretty interesting to learn that stuff. So
Yeah.
that's a whole different industry.
That's-
Though. Yeah.
That's
It's
awesome.
like red tape to the max.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Talk about
Yeah.
navigating waters and processes and stuff.
Yeah.
Man, that's awesome. Thank you, Mariano.
Yeah.
Antonio, what got you into architecture?
I kind of grew up in the industry as well.
Yeah.
My parents used to do a bunch of government housing in Mexico. They're not architects or construction savvy. They're accountants.
Oh,
My
really?
my mom's an accountant. My dad is an mechanical engineer.
Oh, right on.
Yes. So my mom would manage a lot of architect and general contractors, right? And I just kind of grew with seeing a lot of plans, urban plans, because we used to build like 1,000 houses, right? So I kind of grew up in the same industry, and
Yeah.
it kind of grew on me.
Yeah.
Right. So I saw that. I saw the plans. I was curious. I would spend some time looking at the plans, trying to understand what I was seeing, like a bunch of lines, a bunch of colors. I didn't know what I was looking at that time, right?
Yeah.
But it kind of stick to me
Mhm.
as I continue my studies. So when I got the opportunity to go to the university in Mexico, in Monterrey, I went to this university, and I saw the fashion studios. And I also, I grew up with my grandmother, seeing her, like doing clothing and all that.
Oh, yeah.
So I remember, I have that vivid memory in my head. So when I saw the fashion studios, I was like, I want to be a fashion designer. I told my dad, I want to be a fashion designer. He was like, no.
Really?
And I was like, okay. I knew that I had a strong feeling of being an architect.
Yeah.
So I went to architecture school over there, and it just like happened.
That was that.
Yes.
Yeah. So Mariano, your background was more in like hands-on, like doing the thing.
Yeah.
Not picking up a broom or shovel, whatever it
yeah.
was. And your experience was more on like seeing the plans and then later seeing the building.
Yes.
Or whatever.
So for me, I guess with this company that we have, it's more about thinking about where we're going, right? The
Gotcha.
future of the company, the vision, right?
Yep.
And that's why Mariano fits perfectly in being COO.
Yeah,
Right?
the execution.
Processes, yeah, exactly. Process and make sure that everything gets done on time and with quality,
Yeah.
right? So I think we have a very good team. Also, Luisa Rodriguez, she's also part of the.
I was gonna say, yeah, Luis, you have a third.
Yeah.
Yes,
Luisa.
Luisa, she's our CFO. She has a master's in business administration.
Oh, right
Yeah,
on.
so she's the one in charge of the money and keeping us
Shout out.
keeping us
There-
within budget.
Yeah, and I
Yes.
think one thing we discovered was that we work really well together. Like we found you don't know what to expect, right? I mean, we were friends and we worked in school together, but then you start company and it's maybe something different. And so we went on this venture, and it was self-discovery for us, understanding what are our strengths and what are our weaknesses. And then we figured out like, hey man, like we work really well together. Like, especially like reading some of the literature that Leslie provided us, and like realizing that like Antonio is more of like a visionary, right? And he's always thinking like big. And then me, like kind of the integrator of like executing it, and then Luisa's just kind of like our glue, like kind of holds us together because we always have different visions between us, and
all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Mariano is my dream crusher.
Hey, I see you, brother. I'm the same way. I know what you mean. You have these grand visions,
Yes.
and then he slaps you with reality.
And it hurts. Let me tell you, it hurts a lot.
but that's good that y'all have that.
Yeah.
Y'all have that balance. I remember working with y'all earlier on in the incubator, and I remember talking to Leslie about y'all and just saying like, man, they have such a stacked team with Luisa's expertise in business, your vision in architecture, your construction experience, and just the hands-on of actually doing it, and the operations, and the way that y'all are able to have that awareness and know where you all fit in the organization. That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Y'all are strong.
That's why I say, like, shout out to Incubator Program again, because man, like,
We have learned a lot.
We've grown so much in this program. Like, it's like you don't know until you know, and like we realized, we thought we were like, oh, we got this, and we come in, and we realize, wow, there's so much we don't know.
Yeah.
Not even just like like in our industry, like when we start doing market research and figuring out, but then also just in business and like management, and like, wow, we don't starting a business and like all this stuff, and like the resources y'all been providing us is like great, because like, wow, like, man, and like we're just so grateful, like everything we're learning, and it's like, wow, we're like and trying to apply it, and like we're always talking about like how we really want to try to make sure that we represent the program and Geekdom in a great way, like we want, because y'all have offered us so much, so like we're trying to make sure that we return the favor, like
it's
that,
awesome.
like we're something.
Like,
I know, dude. Hey.
We appreciate you saying that.
No, but yeah.
It's great. Yeah, I mean, just like the program in general has been great. Like it's, I don't know what the expectations were from the formation of the program, but for us, it's been definitely like as a small startup, small business, trying to start off and being educated at the same time. Like it's been valuable for us. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
They say start up from the bottom. Now we're here.
Yeah.
There it is.
And but that this is the expectation. This is what we want to come out of it. Like we just want to provide the infrastructure so that companies and founders like yourselves can grow. So it's awesome to see, and I feel so fortunate to be able to be on the sidelines and just watch it all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's been awesome. So how did y'all? Because I know you said that y'all met at UTSA. What brought y'all together?
We were in this studio. Well, Mariano was in this studio. It was my first semester in UTSA, and we met because we were together in this. It was like a small organization. It was Freedom by Design.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
He was. I think you were vice
President.
president, and I was
yeah.
like a secretary. So I met him there, and then he was in a higher level studio.
Yeah.
All about theory and like all about thinking and all that. And it was a very reduced studio of 5 students. At that time, they were 4.
I think you were the 5th one.
They were looking for one more. And then we had our Freedom by Design meeting, right? And I was telling Mariano, like the plans that I have for the future and all that for myself, what I like, what I see, right? And he was like, maybe you would make a good fit in our studio. I'm going to talk with the professor and maybe we can bring you on board, right? And I was like, man, that would be super nice, because he was this kind of professor that you must have a class with him.
Yeah.
So he talked to the professor, and then I have an interview with him. So I got accepted in the team. So we were 5 designing a project about 1,000 parks and a line in the sky. It was a project here for Broadway Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like a gondola system for transportation connecting the airport to Travis Park.
Wow.
Yes. So
That's cool.
That is awesome.
yeah. So we were seeing a lot of theory, right? And when one of those days that we were like all burned out, right? we were just like talking about a different topic, and Mariano started talking about his dream of affordable housing, right? And then at that time, I told Mariano, you know what? I wanted to do something like some pots that you can rent out in Austin. You know how when there's ACL and Southwest is like super full, like the hotels and motels are full, right?
All the rates go skyrocket.
Exactly. So I was like, what if we have these pots in the park, in Silco Park or anywhere along the river, right? And Mariano was like, yeah, that sounds a really good idea. And it aligns more or less with his idea for affordable housing, right? So it was prefabricated because we were learning about robots, CNC. We were like, I was putting together all this in my mind. And when I told Mariano about that, he was like, maybe we can mix that. We can get your vision and get my purpose and create something for affordable housing, right? And we were like, yeah, we should do that. We should like get together someday and do it, right?
Yeah.
And that's it. The years passed, right? And he graduated. He went to work with his company, and I continued doing my master's, right? So this day, when I finished my master, I moved back to the Valley, right? I moved back to Mission, and then I was coming back to do my master's, and then Mariano told me, you know what? There's this program at Geekdom. And I was like, what is Geekdom? So he started explaining me, right? And then I remember that I used to see a lot of people going out this building.
Yeah.
When I cruise Houston Street.
Uh-huh.
They went out of the building. They have like this cool shirt that says Geekdom.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is that? I don't know what it is, but it looks super cool. I won one shirt, right? And then when Mariano told me what Geekdom was and that you guys were offering this incubator program, right, to come up with ideas to boost up our community, right? He was like, this is the perfect time for us to jump back at that idea that we had back in the studio.
Nice.
And I was like,
that's awesome.
Yes. And it was the first day that I got back to San Antonio. And I was like, let's do it. We went to my apartment and I didn't have furniture. I just have my mattress in the floor and I just hire the internet service, right?
That's a bare essential.
That's all you need, right?
That's all.
That's all you need right there.
We were sitting on the floor.
We were sitting in the floor in a foam mattress.
Dang, you couldn't have built some chairs real
know,
quick.
right?
And we just start thinking about how can we start structuring this idea that we had back in the day, right?
Yeah.
And then we did the video, super nervous when we record that video.
The application video.
Yeah, I remember.
Video. And it was late at night, and we were done with the video, right? And we were like, man, you know what? I don't know how I feel about this. Maybe we shouldn't do it. And Mariano was like, no, let's do it. We're already here. We have it recorded. Let's just submit it.
Just send.
Yes. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And then a couple of days passed, and we're like, hey, you got accepted. And I'm like, what? We couldn't believe that we were accepted into the program.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That's the story.
But I remember I showed my wife that video afterwards, and she was like cringing. She's like, oh, it's so awkward.
Like, nah.
I was like, man.
You sent that?
Yeah.
Yeah. She was like,
Well, let me know before you send it.
like, oh, yeah.
That was the beginning of ADUs built for you.
Yeah, definitely.
My apartment with no furniture.
That's so cool.
That is so
I always
cool.
love those, like, the origin story.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we don't see that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
But we take so much into consideration with those programs because we know that like this is for a startup or for a company, it's a life altering thing. Like, Leslie does an amazing job with the programs. We have amazing resources and stakeholders that are willing and able to help out with these things. And so that's really cool for y'all to share that. The other side.
As soon as you guys start bringing like budget and, money into the table, we were like, no, we need somebody else to handle this. And I told Mariano, Luisa and I, boyfriend and girlfriend,
Yeah.
and I told Mariano, my girlfriend, she's about to finish her master's in business administration. Maybe it would be a good asset for the company, right? As a founder. And we had a meeting, and Mariano liked the way she works and her way of thinking, and we integrate Luisa into the team.
That is so funny. See, because like before this conversation, right? You got to remember, all I knew of y'all. Well, first off, all I knew of you was from here up.
Yeah.
It was all,
Speaking of, I was gonna say our mug shots.
Yeah.
We always laugh about them because we try to take them one day and then we realize like we're both looking off to the side. And like we're like, and then like when you put them all together, it looks like we're just both like looking at Luisa.
At Luisa.
Yeah.
It's
Like,
awesome.
maybe we should retake those.
Nah, it's awesome. I think it's great. But it's so funny because like when I met y'all, especially through the program, here I am thinking that like, wow, they went through a lot of time to like hand select 3 of the best individuals. But really, y'all are just like friends and like everybody.
Yeah.
And it worked out that way. Y'all happen to have these high level of expertise in these respectable areas. But
Exactly.
that's awesome.
And as we've been going through a program, and I've also just been trying to learn a lot about the dynamics of starting a business. And like you see all the time, like you want to start a company with, you want to know the co-founder at least, right? Have a relationship with them, and then like really like seeing like what expertise they bring to the table, like not just finding anyone to start a company with. And like for us, it's like, I wouldn't say like we spent a lot of time. I think it just happened to like our journeys, like we were the right, team. And and I think we've been a lot, like going back real quickly to like, we're here talking about Freedom by Design. That's basically an organization at school where the students would, we would go to people's in the community, their houses who had disabilities, and we would design and build things to help them. So like say a person was in a wheelchair, and like their front door was a step, they needed a ramp. We would go and design ramps and build them for those people in the community.
That's so cool.
So like we were using our architecture design and like as students getting to build stuff. And so we were kind of already like kind of working in the community and designing and building together. And then with the studio class he was talking about, where it was just 5 of us, that was a very challenging studio because our professor was like, he had high expectations and he had a lot of I don't know the right word, but like in the community, like everyone knew like he was like, he did a lot for like pushing initiatives in the community.
Yeah.
And he put
He had a reputation.
Yeah, he had a great reputation. He put a lot of pressure on us. Like it was hard.
Like, yo, my name's on this.
Yeah. So the ability for us to work through like some really challenging times and like was I think subconsciously is like we work well together,
Oh yeah.
And things that we didn't even understand back in the day, like we would read about this philosophical theory, right? And we would spend hours trying to decode that text, right? So we are starting to bounce ideas, and I think that created something that make us work a little better.
Yeah.
So once Mariano told me that we should get back into that project, that idea that we had back in the day, I was like, yes, let's do it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we thought about it so well back then that it was just this time to execute it.
Yeah. And perfect for his role to know that like this is the time. This is when we should execute, pull the trigger. And that's I'm glad that you brought that up about that design studio that y'all were in, because that's a good point, that like skills and strengths only get you so far, but it is important to understand your co-founder, your partner, their moral compass, their core values, and make sure all that stuff aligns.
Yeah, exactly.
So
and that's like we didn't even know that stuff until we were educated from the program here, and like it worked out that like we had the core values, and like it kind of lined up, you know, like we're like, oh, it could have been bad, but like it actually worked out. Like we were identifying, it was more of like, it was validating and helping us identify why we're good together.
Yeah.
Instead of us realizing like, oh shoot, maybe we're not.
Yeah. Well, and you kind of had experience with that where you had already co-signed for him to join in on that studio with you. You obviously had a certain level of trust and respect to come back and link up with Mariano, and then you have that same level of trust and respect when he's like, hey, I know somebody who we should bring in.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? And so, man, that's really awesome. Well,
dream team,
dude. The dream team for sure. We got to bring Luisa in here, dude.
Yeah,
and I think
cool,
I think that y'all should sit exactly like that. Yeah. So for those of y'all that don't know, in their pitch, in the last slide when it says like about us or something, reach out to us. The way they shot their headshots is
it's
y'all
funny,
are looking up, and Luisa's looking at the camera, right?
Luisa's looking at the camera.
Because I've never really taken headshots before, so we were trying all different ways. And Antonio was like, well, just kind of look up.
I know,
like,
right?
Okay. Like,
you don't know.
Yeah.
I know, dude. Now I know.
But you know what? Yeah, like we're just to touch one last thing on that subject. Like I think we figured out that we're a great team and have a lot of potential together. So I think like ADUs built for you is just kind of like the starting point of like something that will be bigger. Like right now, it's very small and niche, but I think we have the potential to build on that and take it, you know, and grow on it in whatever way. Either if it's continuing to expand what ADUs built for you could do, or something else in the same industry. But like I think we've figured out that like we bring a lot to the table that we can in the construction industry, in the architecture construction industry within the community. Yeah, I think we have a lot of potential to.
That's awesome.
Disrupt.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Same.
I think that the basic value that our company has is to, you know, create a positive impact in our community. That's the foundation of our company, right? To create better communities and try to figure out how can we help them to reach that point.
Yeah, it starts here.
It's hard. Like, you know, that's why we laugh about, we were saying we want to sell affordable housing because it's, everyone talks about it, but like, it's actually not easy. It's hard. And there's so many things. And like, it's just this big, like grand idea that's really awesome. But like to execute it is like really difficult. And like to make change in the community in terms of architecture and design is really hard. And so so we got slapped in the face right away of like, okay, that's not as easy as you think. But like a lot of people talk about it, and like we're trying to make, you know, be the ones in the community to know, like, you know, when you hear of architecture or construction industry involved in the community, like we want our names to be up there, like showing that like, hey, we're pushing for that.
And thanks to this program, we now know a lot of people that think similar to us, and then they're pushing the same movement. Right. So
same initiatives.
Yes. So we start connecting with them, and we know that we can create that positive impact because we have more people with different organizations backing this same idea. So we hope that if we continue working with the city and the nonprofits that we're working with, this can be great for San Antonio homeowners.
Yeah, that's dude. That's awesome. I want an ADU. Well, we're about to wrap up, but before we do though, I wanted to go back on this. Did you ever explore the fashion designer idea anymore? Did you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now that you're saying that, yes, I have a small brand with my brother. We started when COVID hit.
Yeah.
So we start this company that is rooted in skateboarding.
Hey.
Right on.
Yes.
Tell us more.
Yeah. So the name of the company started with 1989 SB, right? Because it was like this philosophical idea going back to my influence in this professor, right? About a point in history that it was significant for everybody in the world, right? With the Berlin Wall coming down, right? It was more about the open-mindedness, more about the new beginning, right? So, you know, skateboarding, it's kind of going through that phase of the like reinventing itself, right? Now it's in the Olympics. Yeah. So, we went to a rebranding because not a lot of people understood, the idea behind it. So
Yeah.
we decided to chill a little more. So we changed it to new wave. So we were like the new wave of skateboarding,
Nice.
right? And we started this Instagram page, right, as a brand. It's a new underscore brand, a new underscore wave brand. And we already did some collaborations with ethnic shoes.
Hey.
We have some not students. We have some kids from the valley, from McAllen,
Yeah.
that they skate for us. So these are kids that they might have. Some of them have like problems in their families or
Yeah.
drug problems and all that, right? So by talking to them, share them my experience as an academic.
Yeah.
We were able to influence these kids, and some like two of them went back to school.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome.
we were super happy for that, and we just support them with shoes, with this collaboration that we ask big brands like Ethnic Shoes
Mhm.
to send some shoes to the kids so they can continue skating and getting out of the streets and getting out of bad habits.
Yeah.
So right now we are creating the products for fashion. So
That's
all
awesome.
the outfits and a more serious kind of brand.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was born with the idea of also helping the kids from the valley.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's a lot of talent over there in the valley. It's a lot of talent in general,
Mhm.
right? But skateboarding, talking about skateboarding, there's not a lot of support.
Yeah.
So we were one of the first supporting these kids. We give them clothing, we give them some skateboards, with some wheels and some grip tapes, and that's my experience
That's how
right
it
now
started.
with fashion.
That's
Dang,
so
that is
cool.
that's awesome.
And he's always fashionable, as you can tell.
I
Yeah,
know.
same.
I mean, hey, from here up, yeah. Every time I see you on Zoom, you always look good, dude. Well, awesome. So, last question I have, and I'd like to hear an answer from both of you. But if you can think of one of the challenges or one of the times that in building, whether it's in building ADUs or ADUs built for you,
Yeah.
or in your transition from schooling or moving, any of those things, what advice would you give yourself if you can go back, or what advice do you wish that you would have heard?
That's the zinger, dude. Every time.
Yeah.
That's it, dude. There's
I
always
would say-
silence right after.
Somebody said this to me when I first arrived here to UTSA, because that transition, like you were mentioning, it was very difficult for me.
Yeah.
The language, the culture. You say, okay, yes, you're Hispanic, right? In San Antonio, it's a lot of Hispanic, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
So it was very tough for me. And when I get down, a professor that used to help us, Robert Mesquiti, he told me, be curious.
Yeah.
Like, just never stop being curious. Always ask questions, and always question everything. So that stick to me, and everything that I do, I try to question if it's right, if it's wrong. I try to question if it's gonna be create a positive impact or not. And if I can't find the solution at that moment, I keep looking for it.
Yeah.
Because his advice of never stop being curious.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. Great advice. And I can tell that you follow that by continuing to grow and challenge your partners. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Mariano, what you got?
Man, that's a tough one. I would say something similar in relation to that, only because I've been kind of educating myself on it. It's just like time management in terms of like with your family, because like I have my wife and my kids, right? It's like, we at the moment we have our day jobs, right? We're working on this company, and then we're so anyone who's like maybe trying to build a company outside of their day job, like it's you spend a lot of hours and this and that, and so the great thing is my wife has been very supportive of me, right? Like which I can't imagine if she wasn't supportive, it'd be really difficult. So she's been supportive with me and like the kids. Like if I have to spend long hours, like us on Zoom calls or like coming here, Geekdom in after hours or doing stuff. And so, I think like for me, I would just, tell myself to like, because there's been times where it's been challenging where my wife and kids, sometimes they're like, hey, we want a little extra time this day. And it's like, you're just a balance, right? And you're like, okay.
Balance, yeah.
So I was like, and for me, it's like learning like how to balance that. And I think like sometimes I forget, like I'm so focused and like I would maybe spend more focus and time like on trying to build something and then not realizing that my wife or kids, they're supporting me, but they also want attention, my attention and stuff. So it's like, I always look back and so shout out to my wife, cause I'm just grateful for her. Like, supporting me. And like, she's a great communicator to me, like always telling me sometimes like, hey, like you've done enough today. Like you got to give me, and the kids some attention. And it's like, oh, you're right. And I gotta, but you lose track of it sometimes. So it's like, I would tell myself back, like make sure you have like good communication with your wife and like the expectations and like, and communicate with each other, let each other know your feelings of how you're feeling. And like, because that's been the biggest challenge is just, managing that work-life balance, so
especially when you got multiple things.
And then I got multiple things, and then I got my 3 girls who they're always wanting to
3 kiddos.
I got 3 girls.
Dang, I'm in that group.
So, are you?
I got 2 little girls and a little boy, dude. I got 3 kiddos, dude. It's a lot. You're outnumbered.
I know. I am definitely.
Well, that was great. Stay curious. Be mindful of your work-life balance and your family balance. But Antonio, Mariano, this has been an awesome time. Thank you so much for sharing,
thank you.
for hanging out with us, kicking it with JRG and I in the Geekdom Underground podcast studio. So if you would, Mr. JRG, take us away, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Geekdom Underground podcast. We had a blast. How do people get to learn more about ADUs built for you? And how do they learn?
Yeah, we have our website, adusbuiltforyou.com. You can visit that website and you can learn more about accessory dwelling units.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys hanging out, like Philip said, and we'll see you all next week. Thanks again for tuning in. See ya.
Bye, everybody.